right now on Fox 28 News at 9.
The showdown in Iowa. Team coverage of 2020's first Democratic presidential debate and the last before the Iowa caucuses.
I'm tracking freezing rain tonight. Who is under a winter weather advisory? And a significant winter storm has its eye on eastern Iowa later on this week when it arrives, and what to plan for in your Weather First forecast.
Plus,
what we're really trying to do with these off-site facilities is really just be able to provide patient care for folks in their community.
see a brand new urgent care center in Johnson County that's helping both patients and doctors.
From Broadcast Park and crews across the corridor working for you, you're watching the most complete newscast of the day. Fox 28 News at 9 begins now.
Happening right now, a firefight for votes in the Hawkeye State. The top 6 Democratic candidates for the nomination for president going head-to-head on stage. We have team coverage of the debate in Des Moines and those watching here in the corridor. Let's take you live right now to the Drake University campus in Des Moines. Fox 28 News anchor Christopher King is live with the last debate before the Iowa caucuses. Chris?
This is what they needed to get well, and they couldn't afford to have the prescription.
Karen, each one of the candidates are up on these monitors right now. They're making their pitches to voters. Why they are the best candidate to step in and take over as commander-in-chief. Joe Biden touts his experience as vice president in the Obama administration. Biden and Bernie Sanders calling the war in Iraq a mistake. Elizabeth Warren says she'd fight for the troops while cutting military spending. Tom Steyer, the only candidate on stage who has not held elected office, says it isn't about experience, it's about judgment. Amy Klobuchar and Pete Buttigieg also making their pitches for why they're qualified. The candidates also addressed how they would repair trade relations with our allies overseas. For now, we're live in Des Moines. Christopher King, Fox 28 News at 9.
And debate team coverage continues now with Fox 28 News reporter Shannon Mowdy live in Coralville. She's at a debate watch party. And Shannon, what are Iowans in Johnson County having to say tonight?
Karen, Reunion Restaurant in Coralville is packed with people. Now, some of them are watching the Hawkeyes basketball game, but most of them are in this group whose attention is all on the final debate before Iowa's caucuses. This watch party is open to everyone. Right now, it's mostly a group of Elizabeth Warren supporters. Volunteers are here for winter break from all over the country. There are also some Iowans who know how big tonight's debate is and how meaningful it is that it's happening in the Hawkeye State.
I'm pretty well educated on all the candidates. I've met all of them. I actually have a denim jacket signed by most of the 2020 presidential candidates. Being in Iowa, I'm very lucky that I get to meet all of them and I get to research them and I get to meet them multiple times and see how they've developed.
It all starts in Iowa. This is the state where in 2008 no one thought that Barack Obama could get elected, could get the nomination, could get to the White House, but he won the Iowa caucus and he was president for 8 years. And I think that in 20 days when the Iowa caucus happens, it's definitely going to set the tone for the rest of the election cycle.
Debate watchers here tell me they're really interested to see how candidates answer questions about Iran and foreign policy, and they were also waiting to see if that controversy between Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren would pop up, and I think it did just a few minutes ago. I heard a pretty vocal reaction during that one. Live in Coralville, Shannon Mowdy, Fox 28 News.
And it was a quiet weather day for us in eastern Iowa, but our quiet weather is about to run out. Our next system moves in overnight in the form of some freezing rain. Right now, a live look at our Cedar Rapids Skycam. All is quiet across the city and all over eastern Iowa. In fact, the whole state is pretty quiet for now. But after about 2 o'clock here in the morning, we'll start to see some freezing rain move in. Also could see some minor snow accumulations of around an inch or less up north of Highway 20. With all of that said, a winter weather advisory goes into effect from 2 a.m. until noon tomorrow. Could see a light glaze of ice on any untreated roads and surfaces, so give yourself some extra time to get where you need to be tomorrow morning. Up to 32 tomorrow afternoon. Precipitation will wind down by mid-morning. A significant winter storm is on track for the area as we head into the weekend. More on that in your Weather First forecast coming up.
All right, Brandon, we'll see you in a bit. The body of a man involved in a lengthy standoff with multiple authority agencies has been recovered from a burned out home in Burlington. Police say they were called to do a welfare check on 62-year-old Michael Cardle Monday. When they arrived, though, police say Cardle had a shotgun, so they backed off. Negotiators were still trying to make a connection with him when a fire was seen at the home shortly after. Police believe Cardle started it, then perished in the flames. They say they couldn't risk going in for him because he had earlier fired that shotgun at authorities. An autopsy is now ordered for Cardle. Right now, nearly 10 million people have become sick with the flu so far this season. Here in Iowa, the Centers for Disease Control is considering the outbreak to be widespread. Medical providers report seeing large numbers of patients with influenza type B. At least 76 new cases have been diagnosed statewide. 57 people have had to go to the hospital. One person has died. Also tonight, outpatient visits in Iowa are nearly 2% higher than the national average.
We've seen an uptick in our influenza positive rates probably within the last week. So a lot of folks that are coming in with symptoms and they're testing positive.
Doctors also say they're seeing more cases of the RSV virus. It is especially dangerous for children and babies. Johnson County has a new health center tonight. This was the opening day of the University of Iowa Hospitals and Clinics' second urgent care facility there. The new center will help lighten the load for sick people in the growing areas of Coralville and Iowa City. In recent years, emergency rooms in both cities have been packed at times with patients, and university leaders say they want people to know they have new options for treatments.
It's our quick care, or maybe it's our urgent care clinics where they can really get that care that's specific to the symptoms that they have. And that way we can level load kind of and decrease wait times and volume at all of the places.
The new urgent care facility has multiple capabilities such as x-rays, a built-in lab, and the ability to treat flu symptoms on the spot.
Not every person is bad or trying to do malicious things.
Still ahead on Fox 28 News, a corridor father is defending his good name after a social media post paints him in a negative light. The message he wants us all to hear. And a driver hailed a hero for getting children out of a burning bus. You'll hear the terrifying story from an eyewitness who was there. You're watching Fox 28 News. We want to show you these images tonight. They recently went viral. Police initially thought this man might have been a danger to children, but instead he was really trying to help them. Fox 28 News reporter Symphony Sherman explains the misunderstanding.
Not every person is bad or trying to do malicious things. Some people are just trying to help the community.
Which is exactly what Ray DeGrow was trying to do when he saw a couple of young kids standing outside of a come and go in Iowa City.
I just offered them a kind act like I would do any other kid any other day, and that was to offer them some money if they wanted to buy a few snacks or anything for themselves.
But not everyone took it that way. Someone reported a suspicious man offering kids money to Iowa City Police. These images came with it.
We attempted to locate and identify prior to putting it out on social media on our own, but we weren't able to do that, so we reached out to the public.
That post spreading like wildfire across social media.
It painted me in a light that it didn't represent anything I stand for and everything that I'm against.
But it did allow police to quickly find out who he was and make sure he wasn't a threat.
The purpose for us to get the image out on social media was to get it done in a quick manner. There had already been a message that was put out from the schools, and so we felt that the public had already been informed of the situation, or partially, and so we wanted to get that message out to let the public know that we were working on it.
No charges were filed against him, but DeGrow says that post changed how people see him.
I don't even want to wear the lanyard I was wearing that day, because some people are going to be like, oh, maybe that's him, you know what I mean? I don't want nobody to ever feel uncomfortable about me.
Iowa City Police tell me using social media in cases like this is a decision they do not take lightly. It's something they talk about internally to see if it's the best approach for the situation. I'm Symphony Sherman, Fox 28 News.
Winter weather advisories are in effect for all of eastern Iowa tonight for some freezing rain that'll move in. And then our attention turns to a storm over the Pacific that will arrive on Friday, which could bring some high impacts to eastern Iowa to start the weekend. More on that, and we'll time it out in your Weather First forecast next.
A Delta Airlines jet heading for China today reported an engine problem shortly after takeoff in Los Angeles. On the way back to the runway in LA, fuel from the plane leaked, spilling towards students and teachers at area schools during recess. Around 20 children and 11 adults reported a reaction to the mist of fuel in the air. Some 70 first responders fanned out to help treat the victims. The injuries are said to be minor and mostly included skin irritations. The FAA is investigating. A Minnesota bus driver is being credited with saving the lives of several middle school children. It happened after their bus burst into flames on the interstate. Authorities say the bus was taking the basketball team to their first game of the season. They say the bus began having problems on the way. The coach says the driver calmly pulled over and ordered everyone to get out.
They were very scared, we were kind of thrown off, and the bus driver, great job understanding the situation, pulling over, and then being able to get back and help with the kids, get all that stuff, and get us, all of us getting safely away.
Right now, police are investigating what caused the bus to ignite. School officials say the bus is around 4 years old. A new year, a new vision for Iowa's top decision maker. Governor Kim Reynolds plans to focus on a number of issues in 2020, among them one that could impact your monthly budget. Fox 28 State House reporter Caroline Cummings explains.
The condition of our state is strong.
Governor Kim Reynolds gave her annual address Tuesday, outlining for lawmakers specific policies and budget priorities she'd like them to take up. Among her big ticket items, raising the sales tax by 1 cent, dubbed her, quote, Invest in Iowa Act.
It's an investment in our future, and it's an investment in those who are our future.
Here's how it will work. Revenue from the sales tax increase will fund a voter-approved trust fund established a decade ago that's geared towards water quality and recreation efforts. The rest of that money will largely go to income tax cuts, which would be an additional cut to the tax reductions passed in 2018. It will also support mental health funding, shifting much of the cost share to the state instead of the counties, whose property tax revenues largely fund the current system.
I have no interest in raising taxes. So any increase in revenue from a sales tax must be more than offset by additional tax cuts.
The proposal is giving some Democrats pause. They suggest mental health funding hinged on sales tax revenue is not sustainable.
We need to make sure that the way that we do fund these programs, the way that we do find funding for mental health, is that that we've created a fair tax. We don't just put it all on sales tax, right? Or we don't just put it on a group of taxpayers that really can't afford it.
Cutting taxes is a priority for Republican lawmakers, but GOP leaders declined to back their Republican governor's plan without further details.
Is that we still need to see the numbers from the Department of Revenue. I know that we haven't seen an actual bill yet, so we just need to see how everything works. I'm really excited personally about lowering income tax rates and moving Iowa forward. And
the governor is also focused on child care as a workforce issue. She's calling for expanding child care tax credits to double the number of families who would have access to them and eliminating the so-called cliff effect, or kicking people off child assistance programs if they earn a single dollar more than the income threshold. She again renewed her call for a constitutional amendment to automatically restore felons' voting rights at the completion of their sentence, and she pitched licensing reform changes designed in part to prevent ex-felons from being outright denied from getting licenses for jobs because of criminal convictions unrelated to the profession they want to pursue.
We can help them become productive members of society, reduce recidivism, and make our communities a safer place.
In Des Moines, Caroline Cummings reporting.